Hello students, welcome to today's online English class. In this class, we are going to study the poem Where I Live by Arundhathi Subramaniam. The poem presents the city of Mumbai through the eyes of a person who lives there. The poet shows not only the beauty of Mumbai but also its pollution, crowds, poverty, loneliness, and fast urban life. The poem is therefore a picture of city with many different faces. The central idea is simple. Mumbai is a city of contrasts, beauty and ugliness, hope and despair, belonging and loneliness, modernity and spirituality. Now, let us understand the poem step by step. Before we enter the explanation, let us watch a small video.
Mumbai is a coastal city defined by deep contrasts. Glamorous sunsets meet diesel afternoons and a sooty sea through everyday popular life.
The title of the poem is Where I Live, and the poet is Arundhathi Subramaniam. The poet doesn't describe Mumbai in a traditional or idealized way. Instead, she presents the city as she experiences it in everyday life. So, while listening to the poem, let us observe how the poet moves from the physical city to the emotional and spiritual experience of living in it. Let us begin with a few basic points. The poem is set in Mumbai, a large and busy modern Indian city. Mumbai is known for its sea, films, business, opportunities, and fast life. But the city also has pollution, overcrowding, poverty, inequality, and loneliness. The poet presents all these aspects together. That is why Mumbai becomes almost like a living character in the poem. The central idea is the contrast between different experiences of city life. We find beauty and ugliness, hope and despair, belonging and loneliness, modernity and spirituality. Now, let us look at the poem as a whole. The poem begins with the poet describing the land on which Mumbai stands. Then she described the city's beauty, pollution, buildings, popular culture, local trains, street food, poverty, and loneliness. Finally, she looks towards the sea and ends with the words searching for God. So the poem gradually moves through four levels. First, the physical city. Second, everyday urban life. Third, human emotions and experiences. And finally, spirituality. If we observe the first stanza, the poem begins, I live on a wedge of land reclaimed from a tide ocean somewhere at the edge of the universe. The poet says that she lives on a wedge of land. Wedge of land. A wedge means a small or narrow piece of land. A wedge means a small or narrow piece of land. This refers to Mumbai, a coastal city developed partly through land reclaimed from the sea. Notice the expression tide ocean. Notice the expression tide ocean. An ocean cannot actually become tired. The poet gives the ocean a human quality. Therefore, tide ocean is an example of personification. The phrase edge of the universe is not meant literally. It emphasizes how special and distant the city feels to the poet. So this stanza introduces Mumbai as a city closely connected with the sea. Now, let us continue. Greetings from this city of l'Oreal sunsets and diesel afternoons, deciduous with concrete, botoxed with vanity. These lines show the contrast between beauty and artificiality. L'Oreal sunsets suggest beautiful and glamorous sunsets. A diesel afternoon suggests vehicles, traffic, smoke, and pollution. Deciduous with concrete suggests that natural greenery has been replaced by concrete buildings. Botoxed with vanity suggests artificial beauty and excessive concern with appearance. So, Mumbai is beautiful, but it is also polluted and highly artificial. The poet is showing both sides of the city. Let us quickly remember the important expressions from this stanza. Um, L'Oreal sunsets, beautiful and glamorous sunsets. Diesel afternoons, traffic and pollution. Deciduous with concrete nature replaced by concrete structures. Botoxed with vanity, artificial beauty and concern with appearance. The poet doesn't simply praise Mumbai. She presents the city realistically with both its attractive and unpleasant features. Now we come to the third stanza. City of septic magenta hair clips of garrulous sewers and tight-lipped taps of 80s film tunes buzzing near the left temple of ranting TV soaps and monsoon melodramas. Here, the poet describes ordinary sights and sounds of Mumbai. Magenta hair clips represent small, colorful objects of everyday urban life. Garrulous sewers means noisy or overflowing sewers. The word garrulous means talkative. Since a sewer cannot talk, this is personification. Tight-lipped taps suggest restricted water supply. The poet also mentions old film songs and television soaps. These represent popular culture. Monsoon melodramas refers to the problems and drama created by Mumbai's heavy monsoon. Thus, the stanza gives us a picture of ordinary Mumbai life. Now let us look at the next stanza. City racked by hope and bulimia. City uncontained by movie screen and epigram. City condemned to unspool in an eternal hysteria of lurid nylon dreams. People come here hoping for jobs, money, fame, and success. But the word bulimia suggests excessive desire and consumption. The poet then describes an eternal hysteria. This suggests the constant rush, excitement, anxiety, and confusion of city life. Finally, we have lurid nylon dream. It suggests an attractive but artificial dream of success. So, Mumbai gives people hope and opportunities, but it can also create pressure, anxiety, and disappointment. The poet says, city where you can drop off a swollen local and never be noticed, city where you are a part of every imli-soaked Belpuri. Here, swollen local refers to an overcrowded local train. Mumbai's local trains are extremely crowded. In such a huge crowd, an individual can become anonymous. A person can be surrounded by thousands of people and still feel unnoticed and lonely. Belpuri represents Mumbai's street food, culture, and common everyday experience. So there are two opposite experiences here. We can feel invisible in a crowd, but we can also feel that we belong to the city through its common culture. City of the Mahalakshmi beggar peering up through a gorse bush of splayed limbs. The poet describes a beggar in the Mahalakshmi area. The beggar represents poverty and hopelessness. The crowd around the beggar is compared to a gorse bush, which is a thorny bush. The image suggests a dense and chaotic crowd. The important point is that poverty exists alongside Mumbai's wealth and glamour. The poet reminds us that a modern city is not only about buildings, business, and success, it also contains people who are poor and neglected. City of dark alleys, city of mistrust, city of forsaken tube-lit rooms. Dark alleys suggest danger, insecurity, and poverty. City of mistrust suggests a lack of trust among people. Forsaken tube lit rooms suggest loneliness and isolation. There is an important idea here. Mumbai is a crowded city, but people can still feel lonely. A person may live among thousands of people but experience emotional isolation. So, a crowded city doesn't always mean a connected or happy life. City that coats the lungs, stiffens the spine, chills the gut with memory. Here, the city affects both the body and the mind. Coats the lungs refers to pollution. Stiffens the spine suggests physical and mental strain. Chills the gut with memory suggests powerful of painful memories connected with the city. Thus, Mumbai becomes more than a physical place. It becomes part of a person's memories, emotions, and experience. City suspended between flesh and mortar and foam, leather, and delirium. Let us understand these words. Flesh represents human beings. Mortar represents buildings and concrete structures. Foam leather suggests artificial materials and commercial urban life. The arrangements of these words also gives us a sense of fragmentation. So Mumbai exists between human life, concrete buildings, artificial materials, and intense emotions. Now we come to the final lines where it is perfectly historical to be looking out on a sooty handkerchief of ocean searching for God. Sooty handkerchief of ocean is a powerful metaphor. The ocean is compared to a dirty or sooty handkerchief because of pollution. But the most important expression is searching for God. At this point, the poem moves from the physical city to spirituality. After describing pollution, poverty, crowds, anxiety, and loneliness, the poet ends with a search for God. This suggests the human search for meaning, hope, and peace. So the ending gives the poem a spiritual dimension. Now let us revise the major themes. First, urban life. The poem presents the complexity of life in Mumbai. Second, beauty and ugliness. Beautiful sunsets exist alongside pollution and dirty surroundings. Third, hope and despair. Mumbai creates dreams, but dreams may also end in disappointment. Fourth, poverty and inequality. The beggar represents the neglected poor. Fourth, loneliness and belonging. People can feel anonymous in crowds, but shared culture can create belonging. Sixth, pollution. Diesel concrete and the sooty ocean represents environmental problems. Seventh, spiritual search. The final search for God represents the desire for meaning and hope. Now let us identify the important literary devices. Personification, tide oceans, garrulous spheres, tight-lipped taps. These expressions give human qualities to non-human things. We have a metaphor, L'Oreal sunsets, diesel afternoons, swollen local, lurid nylon dream, sooty handkerchief of ocean. These expressions make the city vivid and memorable. Another important device is repetition or anaphora. The phrase city of is repeated several times. This repetition helps the poet show the many different faces of Mumbai. The poem also uses imagery, for example, dark alleys, magenta hair clips, sooty handkerchief of ocean. These expressions create strong pictures in our minds. There is also symbolism. The beggar symbolizes poverty. Belpuri symbolizes shared city culture. Darkness symbolizes loneliness and insecurity. God symbolizes uh, spiritual meaning. Beauty versus pollution, hope versus despair, belonging versus loneliness, modernity versus spirituality. These contrasts are central to the poem. Now let us conclude. Where I live is not simply a description of Mumbai, it is a picture of modern urban life. The poet shows us the city's beauty as well as its problems. She shows us wealth and poverty, dreams and disappointment, crowds and loneliness. She also shows how the city affects people's bodies, memories, and emotions. Finally, the poem moves from the physical city to a spiritual search for God. Therefore, the poem suggests that even in a crowded, polluted, and confusing modern world, human beings continue to search for meaning, hope, and peace. With this, we will stop. Thank you for listening.